One term you'll come across a lot in your studies is worldviews. Now, what does this mean when you apply it to religion? Well, today I'm going to give you the example of a religion that you'll know best because we live in the UK, which is culturally Christian. Now, whether or not people are actually practicing Christians, the culture around us has grown out of 2,000 years of Christian society. So we can say that the UK is largely culturally Christian. And with this, in Western Europe and North America, we can talk about Christian privilege, meaning we live in a society where we don't think about the fact we get days off school and work for Christmas and Easter and major Christian festivals. Therefore, we tend to think, well, this is how life works, this is how the world works. What I would like you to think about today is, how does this work if you're a Christian and you don't live in Western Europe or in North America or one of the many cultures around this world that counts themselves as culturally Christian? Is your worldview essentially the same as people who grow up somewhere like the UK? Well, the answer to this is no. We can share a faith, we can share certain traditions, but our worldview is completely different. Now, for many years when I was a student, I lived in Syria. And in Syria, I got used to the idea that we couldn't just go to church on a Sunday. There were services on a Sunday, but children had to go to school there because in Syria, as a majority Islamic country, it meant that they had Friday and Saturday off. So children, instead of having Sunday school, would have Friday school. They would go to Mass maybe on a Tuesday evening or a Saturday afternoon, but they couldn't attend every Sunday as we would expect. And then it meant there were some accommodations around Christmas and Easter because you wouldn't necessarily get those days off work or school. You'd have to go on the Saturday night for the main Easter Mass rather than the Sunday morning. Now, this really impacts your worldview because you see things in a different space. You don't take them for granted, and in some ways, your faith becomes more your identity because it's you and your family and your community against a majority. And therefore, how we feel in this country is how you could perhaps say most Muslims feel in the Middle East when they're looking at their wider culture. Because if you're the majority, you don't have to question your belief system, perhaps quite as much as you might if you're in a minority. Conversely, as a minority, it can feel more precious to you because you can feel either that it's special or maybe that you're a little bit under threat and that you have to protect yourselves. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we must not make the assumption that everybody who follows a particular religion will follow exactly the same belief system. There will be some variations. So there will be some people who are Christian who are what we would say socially conservative. They should believe that only a man and a woman can be married and that you can't have same-sex marriages. They'll have very traditional views on the roles of women, maybe. Whereas you can have other Christians who are perfectly happy with the whole idea of same-sex marriage. They are socially very, very liberal and much more socially inclusive. And yet both those groups will hold the same fundamental beliefs about Christianity and the role of God and Jesus Christ in their lives. So it's to explain to you that when we're talking about worldviews, we're talking about the diversity of personal experience, community experience, national experience, and how this intersects with theology and with religion as a whole.